if you're going to be the dad God's called you to be, you're going to have to realize that you're going to be misrepresented. You're going to be not liked all the time. And you're going to be told, Dad, I'm the only one. And you're going to have to say, okay, am I doing this out of conviction?
Man.
Because it's going to be, I'm just telling you, I've been there and I feel it.
Yeah.
In that moment, you're like, well, we could probably fudge on this. We could probably fudge on this. But no, what am I going to offer? That's not me trying to like actually make good decisions for my kids. That's me trying to make that tension go away because I don't like it and they don't like it. But instead, the fear of man cannot drive me and cannot drive how I choose to live my life.
Welcome to the Step Up Podcast, where our goal is to help you step up in every area of your life. I'm your host, Josh Thomas, and I am joined by my pastor, Chris Kouba.
Halloween.
Just happened.
Like, what in the world?
I will say that this year, things just felt real heightened.
When did it become a thing for people to just, well, one, the amount of adults?
That was the shocking part. I went to HEB, bro. They're everywhere.
And we're not talking about like fun costumes.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking like gothic. We're talking like
It's
crazy.
spooky.
Like
It's spooky.
I'm trying to like scare you.
Yes,
I'm trying
it's
to
odd.
like it. I guess I don't remember that. I remember it.
Yeah.
I remember trick or treating. I remember all of that being a big deal. And certainly even a few years ago when my kids were little, it was fun, but it wasn't like grown men.
Yeah, so Lily and I were in Los Angeles for the mission trip a few weeks ago. We stayed a day over and went to Universal, and they do those Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh my gosh.
And we just both looked, and we were like, we're not staying for this. We're not staying for this.
It is so weird.
It's
I don't
odd.
understand where the monetization or the fascination of fear as like a way of like just expressing yourself has become such a thing.
Okay, well, so let me ask you a question, though. Like, is there anything that you are scared of? Is there anything that you're fearful of?
I mean, I don't love heights. Like
Okay.
I'm fine. Like if it's a stable situation, like if there's a place and you're there and you kind of, got a high enough railing, whatever else, like I'm fine with that. But like if it's in the slightest bit unstable, like I'm sitting down, I'm like not.
Oh, really?
It wigs me out. It's like it just.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not afraid of flying or anything like
Yeah.
that kind of a thing. But like, yes, certain heights. There's this thing we do in Colorado whenever we go up there for family camp called Bishop's Castle. And it's this guy that made this castle. Like, it's just super weird.
You're talking about
It's bizarro.
Uh-huh.
And so you go on this thing and it's just not super stable. And I'm just telling you, I still have like flashbacks of like, I almost died that day. Like it felt that way in every way.
Yeah, we went to the Royal Gorge the last time we were there. And you're suspended like 1,000 feet off the ground. You just look straight in the canyon, and like the bridge is like swaying.
But that feels stable to me, so I wasn't scared of that. But like I was at this Bishop's Castle, and it's like, it just felt very unstable. What about you? What are you scared of?
So Lily is fearful of spiders.
Okay.
And so I used to pick on her about it.
That was a good dodge, by the way. You just avoided you and just basically threw your wife under the bus.
I'm coming.
But spiders are legit.
So here we go.
Spiders are
Spiders are very legit, like no matter how small.
Sure.
But I am fearful of flying cockroaches.
Flying cockroaches.
Yes.
Is this always been a thing, or is this since you moved to Texas thing? Because
so Texas cockroaches are a little different, right? I think and it was when I was living, the first place I was living, I thought I got him, and then he just like took flight, and I took flight too.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I was gone. So yeah,
I can rattle you a little bit.
And so yeah, so I would say flying cockroaches are big.
Okay, hang on. I got another one I just thought of. I actually am scared of electricity.
Okay, like turning on lights.
No. Let me explain. So I'm not super handy. I've been very honest about that on the podcast here. But I have at times dabbled in projects trying to figure out how I can either save money or do some stuff.
That's fair.
And I've had some negative experiences with electricity that have led me to where like I just don't try it anymore.
Okay.
Like I just am against it or whatever else. Okay.
That's fair.
So we had a situation a couple years ago. We moved into another house and we were renovating this whole house. Like it's kind of a whole home thing.
Okay.
And so we were having to change out. It was like dark colored walls, dark colored panels, dark colored electrical outlets, that kind of stuff. And so we had to change them all kind of this almond color that we were doing. And so I had a guy in the church that was an electrician, and he comes over and he starts showing me how to change out all of the plugs and then the light switches and whatever else. And so the number one rule whenever you deal with electricity is make sure that the power is turned off at the breaker. Okay.
This sounds like a great story, by the way.
I mean, so I'm doing the whole house, and there's like an old house. There's a ton of them. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing them, and I just got a little lazy, maybe a little confident, maybe a little too proud of how well I had picked up on this skill that I had learned.
Of course.
And so started to go and change it this time, thinking I'm going to just do it without turning off the breaker. I don't want to have to go all the way back there and go back and forth and test it out. So I just went and did it, and just 120 volts. It's not going to kill you, but it'll wake you up.
You will know you've been shocked.
It'll wake you up. There's no question about that. So I had 120 volts going through, and you'd think that would be like, hey, just a reminder, don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
Go back and turn off the number one rule of electricity is turn it off at the breaker.
Didn't.
I kept going. I just kind of kept going. And this time it was one of those like 3 switch boxes kind of things. And so I'd done the first one, I thought, versus the second one, I was confident. Get to the third one, it's just all messed up inside of there. And I start messing with it. And this time, not only did I get shocked, but then it kind of threw me back. Because it was like the dual power of the two of them threw it at me. And then all of a sudden it like fried the whole outlet. I have a picture. This is not supposed to be as funny as it is to you. This is rough, dude. I mean, fried the whole thing. Had to literally then call an electrician. So it's somewhat of a fear of like, I'm going to get shot.
Oh, God.
It's also a fear of like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's going to be cheaper if I just call you in the first place and get you to do this.
Okay. Well, one, I didn't know it was to that degree.
It was bad. It was bad.
It's bad.
It was real bad.
But what was what did you learn that day?
That there is a healthy fear.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you don't have that healthy fear, it's going to lead to a different kind of fear.
Okay.
Meaning it's not bad to have a fear of electricity. Okay.
Right.
It's bad when you don't have that fear of electricity, then it's going to lead you into a fear of dying from electrocuting yourself or burning your house down because you've fried yourself or the wires or whatever it may be. So what I'm learning is that there's 2 different kinds of fear, and all fear is not bad.
It's totally
Sometimes
national
there is
lampoons.
normal fear and there's good fear that you should be able to have. I mean, think about this. Like, let's just think about this in a larger level. Okay. So like my son, he just started driving a few months ago, and I went through the whole process of teaching him how to drive. Okay. Well, I want to make sure that he has a healthy fear of that vehicle, right?
Yes.
Like, so he needs to not necessarily drive afraid or he's like scared of everything and like all, but he does need to recognize he's got a very, very large, very, very, he doesn't have a big car, but the fact that it's a very large, very weighty vehicle that can cause damage to both him, can cause damage to somebody else. And so in the midst of teaching him how to drive, we had to go through all these different things, mainly trying to get him to fear or really respect the car, right? That he would recognize like, hey, this isn't something we play around with. This isn't something that we take advantage of or we're flippant about.
Yeah.
We have to be attentive. We have to be, but so you can operate with, it's interesting, having that right fear actually leads to confidence. It doesn't lead to a place where then he's kind of a paralyzing fear, which is kind of the other way around it, which is something that immobilizes you.
Yeah.
That's something that like makes you second guess yourself. That makes you it keeps you away from necessary action. If I had a fear of electricity that was healthy, I would have gone, turned off the breaker. I could have messed with that thing and then I could have moved forward and I could have changed it out without any fear. But instead, because I left it on, because I'd messed up, now whenever I go in, like I don't want to be near it.
Yeah.
Like I want to get away from it. I want to back off, and it destroys a confidence. What's interesting is how often I've seen that exact situation play out with men, where some have a healthy fear of the right things and it leads them to more confidence. And some, because they don't have the right fear, end up having a paralyzing fear that leads them to inaction and leads them to they're just second guessing themselves. They're not leading with the sense of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, men, today's conversation is around the idea of healthy fear and unhealthy fear, which, I mean, the tension that we all walk through is that fear is a natural human emotion.
Sure.
And so you're going to have that regardless, but I think there are some indicators of some things. And so from a biblical standpoint, PC, how do you see this playing out, this healthy, unhealthy fear?
Well, here's the thing. You may have heard this many times. There's in the Bible, it says, do not fear over 365 times.
Yeah.
And a one for every day is the idea. So
That's really
the
poetic.
concept is that like, okay, great. So I'm not supposed to fear. The reality though is the Bible actually describes multiple times how the fear of the Lord is actually the path towards wisdom. So it doesn't mean fear, like you just said, is bad by itself.
Yeah.
It's what do you fear? One of my favorite stories of this comes from Numbers chapter 13. Okay. God had already promised the Israelites that they were going to be taken out of slavery and that they were going to be moved into the promised land in the future. Okay. The leaders knew that. The people, they were just kind of along for the ride, but for the most part, the leaders knew that. And so what Moses did is he decided he would send a group of 12 spies into the promised land to scout it out, not to figure out, can we do this?
Yeah.
Should we do this? Is this something that is wise for us to do? None of those things. It was basically, hey, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I want to send these guys in just to get a scouting report to tell us, hey, what are we about to face?
This is a vision trip.
Vision trip, a perfect example, perfect way to describe it. And what happens is you have 10 guys that come back and their response is this. Hey man, the land is awesome.
Yeah.
It is flowing with milk and honey. It has got grapes, clusters of grapes that you're going to be beyond what you can. Like the food is incredible. There's so much things that are there. But let me also tell you what we saw. We saw these Amalekites and these whatever kites and all the different kites and the Jebusites and the whatever else, and giants in the land and everything else. Yeah. And they were all in there. And I'm just telling you, they all came back with a fear that essentially said, we can't do this. There was two guys that came back with a different thought. It was two guys named Joshua and Caleb. The other 10 came back and said, we look like grasshoppers, is the way they described it, compared to these guys. They were so big and so many of them. Joshua and Caleb saw the same giants, saw the same fortified cities, saw the same Jebusites and Amalekites and all the different kites that you could have out there. And their response was, let's go do this.
Yeah, it is. I will say the response from Joshua and Caleb versus the other 10 was that, they did see the same things. But the crazy thing is that it feels like Joshua and Caleb still believed God because of everything that they'd already seen him do. And it feels like the other guy's vision was thwarted a little bit once they saw what was in front of them.
Sure.
And so this is like the fear of man, like right there in their face.
Their vision was determined by, what do I see? These other guys, Joshua and Caleb, their vision was determined by what God had already said.
Okay.
Those are very big differences that led to very different outcomes, which I think kind of model. One had the fear of man basically meaning what I see, what I observe, what I experience. That's going to determine how either confident or unconfident that I am. Yeah. Whereas the fear of God was one that was basically saying like, okay, I know what God has said, so it trumps anything that I see or feel. It probably doesn't mean that they saw the people and thought, oh, well, they're not very big. Or, oh, they're not that fortified. No, they saw the same thing. The difference was their fear of the Lord overrided everything else and allowed them to see the challenges as challenges, not as reasons why they shouldn't go in the land in the first place.
So I would say this is where it gets practical. Let's just talk about for a second, the fear of man versus something, the fear of something bigger. Let's talk about the fear of man.
Okay, so this is when you let other people become the loudest voice in your decision making in your life. Okay, as a teenager, we called it peer pressure.
Yeah,
right? We see that, like, hey, don't fall into peer pressure.
Yeah.
As an adult, we call it people pleasing. It's basically I want to be liked more than I want to be more than respected. I want to make sure that that I feel comfortable with the circumstances that I'm aware of and the situation that's in front of me. And I want to make sure that you agree with me, you validate me, you like me. Whereas the fear of God is something that isn't dependent upon those things.
You just because of our unique role in the church, we get to interact with a lot of different people. Have you seen this play out in some like real scenarios across the business world?
Yeah.
Some of the things that you've seen.
I have a guy I know that was dealing with this even a couple of years ago in a pretty heavy way, particularly. There was DEI training. There was all this kind of stuff going on that was there that was super heavy. And he just felt this strong conviction, I believe, biblically and accurately he did against it. But the consensus was this: hey, you're not allowed to say anything. You're not allowed to challenge this. You're not allowed to speak up. You're not allowed to do. And he felt kind of trapped because The fear of man told him like, man, I got to keep my job. But the other hand, he knew like, but this isn't right.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? This isn't what the scriptures teach that is the best way for right living and for man. And so he had this choice of, am I going to speak up? Am I going to push back? Am I going to go against what I'm being pushed down onto me? Or am I going to allow the fear of man to basically just kind of make me go along and keep my mouth shut?
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of men that have been muted out of fear. Not because of conviction, out of fear. They allow the fear of man to control what they do.
Do you think it's possible? That's insightful. Do you think it's possible for a man to feel muted or silenced at home?
I think that happens all the time.
Okay.
In fact, I've seen many men who may have boldness, clarity, and conviction at work, and kind of like we talked about last episode, they walk into the house and immediately what do they choose to do? They choose to just be like, hey, whatever you want. I'll let you handle it.
What have you, just in your conversations with guys, what's come up? Like, what are some of the topics or conversations that have come up where that happens?
The number one thing for Hillary and I have always been budget. So I just find that some guys are just like, man, I'll just figure out how to kind of make it all work instead of addressing maybe overspending either in themselves or addressing overspending in their family. A fear of man just kind of says, look, I'm just not going to rock the boat. I just want to watch the game. I just want to, whatever. I don't want to cause too much friction. The fear of God says, hey, I love my family too much not to let them slide into debt, create long-term problems. I'm going to address some of these things. I'm going to have hard conversations. I've seen too many men at home who just don't engage. Let's just go from a parenting standpoint. Okay. It's amazing to me how many dads are super, and or parents in general, who are over involved in their kids' lives when it comes to the way that they interact outside of the home. And then they are totally checked out when it comes to handing them a 13-year-old device, or a 13-year-old a device that has porn, that has predators, that has unlimited to the world. And it's just there's been more stuff I think coming out recently. I've seen commercials and stuff like that kind of highlight just the craziness of it. But here's the deal. If you're going to be a dad who's going to hold the line in your family, I can guarantee you, I know from personal experience, your kids, I got amazing kids who will say, Dad, we're the only one. And you're going to have to make a decision as a dad. Am I going to be one then who's going to give into the fear of man, which is like, man, I don't want my kid to be the only one. And here's what I would tell you. You don't want your kid to be normal. You want to know what normal is? They have anxiety. They're depressed. They're dealing with pornography. They've got addictions. They can't talk to people. They can't relate to people. You want your kid to be weird. But here's the thing. In order for you to stand up and protect your family, then you're going to have to look your kid in the eye, knowing what they're facing, and be willing to be like, I'm willing to be weird. I'm willing to stick out. I'm willing to be against the grain. And but the fear of man just says, no, go along with everybody, what everybody does.
Man, I feel like we should just take a pause for a second to just think about that one. Because it's heavy and that's real, and that is a very real tension that every man would have to face probably daily,
for sure,
to some degree.
If you're going to be the dad God's called you to be, you're going to have to realize that you're going to be misrepresented. You're going to be not liked all the time, and you're going to be told, Dad, I'm the only one. And you're going to have to say, okay, am I doing this out of conviction?
Man, because
it's going to be, I'm just telling you, I've been there and I feel it. In that moment, you're like, well, we could probably fudge on this. We could probably fudge on this. But no, what am I going to operate? That's not me trying to actually make good decisions for my kids. That's me trying to make that tension go away because I don't like it and they don't like it. But instead, the fear of man cannot drive me and cannot drive how I choose to live my life.
What about the bigger decisions? Let's talk workplace, integrity, financial choices.
We've dealt with this a couple episodes ago, just of the integrity, sometimes the test of power. You've got power over your budget reports. You've got power over your expenses. You've got power over how you handle personal stuff related on business trips, claiming mileage. I talked to a tax person even recently, and they're like, hey, FYI, you could do this. And it's not technically illegal, but it's like,
it feels illegal.
It's shady, right? Kind of a thing. And so the fear of man would say, well, everybody's doing it. I don't want to stick out because then all of a sudden it's going It's going to blow the cover for everybody else. And you can't live how everybody else is doing. You've got to live in such a way that instead am I led by conviction, which is the fear of the Lord, or am I led by the fear of man, which is essentially, I'm not going to push the envelope.
That's such a litmus test, and that's such a good litmus test, because it's the idea that you may make the same decision, but it may come from two completely different motivations.
No question.
And that's just such a good distinguishing thing, because the pressure to go along with everything is so real. And the idea of PC, I mean, is there anything that you would say outside of the workplace, integrity, financial decisions, that just kind of hits closer to home for some of these guys? Maybe something, pornography maybe?
I've dealt with this recently. I mean, just people that basically have messed up and aren't willing to own it, aren't willing to admit it. And what I found is that they are trying super hard to maintain an image or maintain a way that they have presented themselves at all cost, even at the expense of being honest and real. See, that's the thing. Fear of man will make you lie, right? I think a lot of times people that have lying problems or people that aren't owning up to their situations, it's not because that's the core of it. The core of the issue is the fact that they got the fear of man. They don't want to look bad. And so because of that, they make crazy decisions along the way. Yeah. It's a hard dynamic, because you do want, no one's looking around wanting to not be liked.
Yeah.
They're not wanting to be the guy that, they don't mind being weird for a moment, but they don't want to be weird for a whole lifestyle.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
Totally.
Totally. And that makes,
it makes sense. But it goes back to, you need to know that fear of not being that guy is going to lead you down a road of making decisions that you would have never chosen, that I want to be that guy.
Yeah, what's interesting is that we know Joshua and Caleb's names because they chose to be different, and we don't know the other 10 guys' names.
Don't have a clue.
And it sounds like Joshua and Caleb were honored for being the weird guy, or for being the that guy. So kind of back to the biblical story, see what made Joshua and Caleb so different.
In my mind, it's the fear of the Lord.
Okay.
They again saw the same thing, but they responded with confidence. Man, let's go. Basically, these people that we're going to take out, it's about to be awesome. And the land that we're about to inherit, it's about to be awesome, because God had already promised it. They were living on the promises of God, and they let that become the view which they saw everything, as opposed to determining whether God would be able to do it. That fear of the Lord. I'm reading a book right now that I highly recommend anybody on this podcast. It's one that's great. It's really small chapters that you could do kind of on a daily basis. It's by John Bevere. He's a pastor, and the book is called All of God. And what it is doing is just reminding me of the blessing of obedience. Too often, in the midst of the grace gospel culture that we live in the church world, which is a good thing, we need to make sure that's the case. Grace inspires everything that we do, but we don't talk about just straight up holiness. Don't do what you're not supposed to do and what God has said. And when you do that, what it makes you do is realize, one, the commands of the Lord are meant for your good. But what it also does is it makes you, I believe, draw into the promises of God more consistently and more faithfully, so that you can be a Joshua and Caleb who's like, I don't know how God's going to do it, but of course he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Why? Because you trust him. You trust his commands, but you also trust his promises. And when he says, this is the land that I'm giving you, then you don't question, was God going to be able to give it to us?
Yeah.
And to your point, I think you're right. We know their name. Why? Because they were ones who trusted God. They were ones who feared the Lord. They were ones who had a healthy fear of that electricity, which meant, I'm going to turn the breaker off and I'm going to be able to use it so that it can light the house up. But if I'm flippant with it, or if I don't believe it, or if I don't act like it's real, his commands aren't really good for me, then what's going to happen? I'm going to jolt myself. I'm going to potentially start a fire trying to do something, and realize that what God has given as a positive thing, if not used correctly, can also become dangerous.
So what does this look like practically then, PC?
Man, I've seen situations to where you got like a social circle.
Yeah,
I dealt with this recently, and this group of people, a guy was having an affair with somebody else. Everybody kind of knew it, except for the couple. And the guy I was talking to was trying to debate, do I bring this up? He's like, if I do, it's gonna
that could implode that whole circle of people.
But the question is, like, what kind of friend are you?
Yeah.
But that thought of, well, I don't want to cause a problem, I don't want to cause an issue,
Yeah.
leads to you not also being the friend that God calls you to be. And the goal is not to blow the whole thing up, but the goal is certainly to stop sin. And I think too often we get comfortable around sin because of our fear of disrupting stuff. And instead, I think what God's called men to do, whether it's in our homes, whether it's in our relationships, whether it's in our work situation, is to be the man who leads from a place of conviction, knowing, yeah, this might blow up, but I don't want to live under the wrath of God, who says that if I overlook sin, it's almost like I'm condoning it, I'm celebrating it or whatever. And we can't always do that. But I think as far, particularly with believers, as far as it depends upon us, we need to live in such a way where we are being honest about this.
Yeah. No, that's so good. And like men, that is the encouragement that you may be the only voice of dissent.
Sure.
But if you have the favorable opinion of God and you have a fear of God in that, God's gonna bless it. I mean, we see Joshua and Caleb's names repeated throughout Scripture plenty of times in positive and God-honoring ways, if you will. PC, for the guys listening who recognize themselves in this as people pleasers that are like, man, I think most of my motivation is coming from a fear of man, not a deep conviction of walking with the Lord. Where to start? Right? How do you get out of this?
Grab a journal, grab something to write with, write it down. What are you afraid of? Like, name it. Is it losing your job? Is it your reputation? Is it having people being mad at you? I've found that fear has a way of losing its power when it gets exposed to the light.
That's good.
If you just keep it in the dark, then you just kind of live there. But like, no. What am I actually afraid of here? Second, ask yourself this question. What do I respect more than these fears? Is it my family's well-being? Is it my integrity? Is it my faith? Because you need something bigger to drive those decisions. In the same way, Joshua and Caleb, their bigger thing was the fact that, well, God said he was going to do it. The promise of God led them to basically have a different thought process than the other 10, who was basically like, well, I don't want us to get taken out, or I don't want us to lose, or I don't want us to have try. Whatever their reasons were, it didn't have a bigger one, and so allow that fear of man to overcome them.
Okay, so after you list those out, do you just pray about it? And you're just like, God, take these away. Like, what would you do after you list them out? What's the next step?
I think that question you just asked is the answer. What is your one next step you need to take?
Okay.
So I'll list something out, like, what's the hard conversation that you need to have that you've been avoiding? Okay. What's the one small change that you need to put into place? Maybe it's telling your drinking buddies, hey man, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm cutting back. I'm not going to be doing this. That may feel like a big decision. You're going to realize it's not that big of a decision. It's probably the first of many that you're going to have to make, but make the first one. Take one small stand, build that muscle kind of gradually over time, and it leads to you having more courage and building confidence for you to live and walk to where eventually you're like Joshua and Caleb, but it's like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Yeah. Like, I'm not afraid of this. Like, why would we be afraid? We got God on our side.
Yeah.
So you've got to live in that way.
I would say that we've got I mean, it's been really awesome. Just we've got a spectrum of guys that listen to this. We've got granddads, dads, soon-to-be dads, one-day dads. Like, we've got a spectrum of it. For fathers, right? Let's speak to this. How do you raise your sons with the right kind of fear?
I'm watching this and realizing it more and more. 8th grade son and a 10th grade son. Man, they are watching me constantly on how I handle conflict. They're watching me on how I deal with criticism, how I deal with difficult decisions. And if they consistently see a dad who chooses convenience over conviction, it doesn't matter what speech I tell them. It doesn't matter how many times I bring them to the youth group. You know what they're going to do? What their dad did. And so I think about that with my own father. I mean, my dad is someone who lived out of conviction. We didn't go to church because he thought it would be good for the family. We went to church because it was important to him. Like, I don't read the Bible and think the Bible is important to me because I think that, it'd be really good for some advice for life. I do it because I saw my mom and my dad did, right? Good. So I think model it, men. Model this for them. Let your kids see. Let them hear you process. Let them hear. I went to the Lord before this. I sought this wise counsel because it's godly counsel. I think just allowing them to walk through that is going to help tremendously. But then also when they face struggles, when they face trials, what kind of questions are you asking them? What's everybody going to think about that? Or what's this going to look like? Or are you instead asking, hey man, what are you most afraid of here? What are you scared of? Like, is that fear trying to protect you from real danger? Or is that fear you're dealing with just trying to keep you comfortable? Because most of our fears are about comfort. They're not about safety, right? And we need to create opportunities for us to try to like push our boys towards small acts of courage. Let them see you take calculated risk, stand up for your beliefs, handle criticism with grace, but also push your boys, push your kids, push them in such a way where it's like, hey, you need to step up and do this. Well, Dad, they're gonna, I'm gonna, you know, they're gonna push back on me. Yeah. That's what we do. You've heard me say it a lot.
Leaders do hard things,
and sometimes they do it alone. I want to pound that into my kids. Now, I'm not trying to put them in a weird situation, but I do want to try to instill in them this idea of like, hey man, what does God want you to do? Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, so this has been a really good conversation. PC, what's the result, right?
Freedom. I'm telling you what, there's so much freedom. You stop wasting mental energy thinking about what everybody else thinks. You can take risk. You make hard decisions. You have difficult conversations. You actually live instead of just surviving. And what it ends up doing is it allows you to be in a place to where you've got a Joshua and Caleb spirit. People are going to remember your name, not because it's about your name, but instead because of the God that inspired your confidence. And that's what you want to be able to do. That's what we want to pass down is a fear that suggests this, man, this is going to lead me to do more. This is going to lead me to take bold risks. This is going to lead me to give at levels I've never given before. This is going to lead me to serve at levels I've never served before. This is going to lead me to go on that mission trip. And man, I'm not super comfortable walking up to random people and talking to them. But you know what? God says that he will save those who hear the gospel. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to learn how to do that. And I'm going to put myself in a position. And I think more and more men do not need to allow their past to define their future, that negative experience, that disappointing thing. The question isn't, how do I make sure I'm comfortable? It's instead, how do I lead out of a place of conviction? And I got to choose. Am I going to be the fear of the Lord or am I going to be the fear of man?
That's so good. I've just really enjoyed the conversation today. Any final challenges you would have for our listeners, Pastor Chris?
You have more opportunity than you possibly realize to have great influence. The question is going to come down to not what do I see, but who do I believe? Be Joshua and Caleb. Don't be like the 10 who we don't know anything about them other than the fact that they were the 10.
Man, that's so good. Man, this has been a great podcast. I would even encourage you to have that conversation with your boys if you're like, you know, if your sons are listening to
or
this,
your girls, but yes,
or your girls, because that's just good. That's just good stuff. I think it really gets to the heart of fear out of reverence or fear out of people pleasing and fear. Man, that's something we're all going to deal with. We're all going to struggle with. It's a consequence of sin. But man, just so grateful for the conversation today, Pastor Chris. Thank you for the words of wisdom, and thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, you can step up and make the right decision and have the right kind of fear. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for listening to the Step Up Podcast. Do us a favor and like, subscribe, and share this episode to help us get the word out. We would love to hear from you. So please leave us a comment and even leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. For additional information or to reach out directly, please visit chriskouba.com. That's chriskouba.com. You can also follow Pastor Chris on social media and just search Chris Kouba. Kouba is Kouba. You can also follow United City Church on all socials at United City Church. That's going to be UNTD City Church. Thanks so much.